Venezuelan Submarine Incident. The ocean doesn't forgive mistakes. And when a Venezuelan submarine crossed an invisible red line by attempting to stalk a US aircraft carrier, the response was not loud, emotional, or reckless. It was cold, precise, and absolutely devastating. What followed wasn't just a military reaction, it was a message to the entire world that sea power still rules, and the rules were written a long time ago, back in World War II. Welcome back to 0 Hour World War II, where history isn't dusty. It's alive, breathing, and shaping today's battlefields. A dangerous move beneath the waves. Submarines are ghosts. They don't roar into battle. They wait, they listen, they stalk. When reports emerged that a Venezuelan submarine had maneuvered aggressively near a US carrier strike group, alarms didn't blare on television. But inside naval command centers, every screen lit up. Aircraft carriers are not just ships. They are floating air bases, symbols of national power, and the crown jewels of modern navies. In World War II, carriers replaced battleships as the kings of the sea. That lesson was paid for in blood at places like the Pacific, and no navy on earth has forgotten it. A submarine trying to threaten a carrier isn't just testing defences, it's testing resolve. Why submarines still matter. World War II taught the world a brutal truth. Submarines punch far above their weight. German U-boats nearly strangled Britain. American submarines shattered Japan's supply lines. One quiet vessel, one well-placed torpedo could change the course of a war. That legacy still shapes naval thinking today. A modern submarine doesn't need to sink a carrier to win. It just needs to be believed capable of doing so. Fear alone can slow fleets, disrupt missions, and force costly defensive measures. That's why even a weaker navy's submarine can be strategically dangerous. And that's exactly why the US Navy treats every underwater contact as real. No assumptions, no second chances. The moment the hunt began. Once the submarine's presence was detected, the situation flipped instantly. The hunter became the hunted. Carrier strike groups are layered fortresses. Destroyers, cruisers, patrol aircraft, helicopters and satellites all work together. This system is a direct descendant of World War II convoy tactics, refined over decades and sharpened by technology. Anti-submarine warfare today is ruthless. Sonar pings sweep the depths. Aircraft drop sensors like breadcrumbs across the ocean. Helicopters hover, listening, waiting, calculating. The Venezuelan submarine wasn't facing a single ship. It was facing an ecosystem designed for one purpose: total control of the sea. Ruthless does not mean reckless. Here's where, many people actually misunderstand naval power. The US Navy doesn't need to fire first to dominate. Control is the weapon. Once the submarine was tracked, its options, they just collapsed. Submarines rely on stealth, but once detected, they become slow, blind, and vulnerable. Every maneuver increases noise. Every attempt to escape narrows the trap. World War II commanders learned this the hard way. U-boats that lingered too long often never came home. The lesson remains unchanged. When a submarine is found, it's only alive because the other side allows it to be. And, that's the real power move. No torpedoes needed to hit. No explosions required for the lesson to land. By neutralizing the threat without escalating into open conflict, the US Navy demonstrated something far more important than firepower. It showed dominance through control, patience, and overwhelming capability. This is classic World War II logic applied to a modern chessboard. Win before the shooting starts. Force the enemy to realize the outcome before the first shot is fired. For smaller navies watching from afar, the message was unmistakable. Challenging a carrier isn't just dangerous. It's strategically suicidal unless you are prepared for total escalation. Why this changes everything. This incident reshapes how naval confrontations will unfold in the future. It reinforces that carriers remain central, not obsolete. Despite hypersonic missiles, drones and cyber warfare, the Carrier Strike Group still stands as the most protected and adaptable weapon system ever built. World War II proved that air power at sea decides wars. That hasn't changed. What has changed is the speed and precision of response. Submarines remain lethal, but they no longer operate in a forgiving ocean. Every move is watched, every signal analyzed, every mistake amplified. This encounter wasn't about Venezuela alone. It was, really, a rehearsal observed by rivals, allies, and analysts worldwide. The shadow of World War II still looms, If there's one thing history teaches us, it's that naval dominance is never accidental. It's built through doctrine, experience, and, painful lessons learned under fire. World War II wasn't just a war of ships and planes. It was a war of ideas. Control the sea lanes, protect the carriers, hunt the submarines relentlessly. Those ideas are still winning battles today, and, as long as they do, the balance of power on the oceans will remain brutally clear. Final thoughts from 0 Hour. This wasn't a movie moment. It was a quiet, controlled reminder that the ocean has rules, and they are enforced without mercy. The Venezuelan submarine didn't change history, but the response ensured no one forgets who still controls the deep. If you want more stories where World War II lessons collide with modern power, this is the channel for you. Subscribe to 0 Hour World War II, share this with fellow history and military fans, and stay locked in. Because, history doesn't repeat itself, but it never stops watching. The 0 Hour World War II.